recycling team. I'm Hayden Harper.
I'm John Bickett.
Oh, I'm Ariel LeBaron.
I'm Taylor Canley. And I'm Keela Bell.
Again, we want to thank y'all for giving us this opportunity. We really appreciate it. The problem that we've talked about is the contamination rates going up in the city's recycling, which leads to the diversion rate lowering and the city also not getting the funds that it usually is used to getting. So that's the problem, and we're going to address how to fix it. But first, we're going to show you the methods that we use to come to our conclusions in our research. We use case studies from other cities and places around the world, scientific journal databases, statistics from other cities and cities around here especially, researching other cities, organizations, and universities like ASU. And we use the City of Peoria website and the things that y'all citizens get to use firsthand.
So Peoria took a number of current efforts, mostly information and resources for its residents through mail-out brochures, local newspapers, TV ads, emails and social media such as Facebook and Twitter. And they also had some personal methods through staff participation, community events, recycling facility tours, and also cameras that spot contamination in the trucks, but obviously it's too late as they go into the And a number of challenges were brought up in this project, mainly what goes where and the problem of putting recyclables in the trash and non-recyclables, and trash in the recycling bin. And that comes to the second point of signage and where it's important and showing the person's not going to go out and look up where this goes. They're right in front of the bin. They're going to put it wherever they feel like. So having that signage makes them more aware of what they're putting in. And norms, values, and beliefs. We need. It's harder to teach an old dog new tricks, and getting that education in the beginning from the elementary level is essential. And older generations that didn't grow up with recycling, obviously it's a newer thing for them. And also the website could use retrofit and add some things to it as well.
And to kind of explain how those challenges correlate to your city in particular, we wanted to bring out the demographic. To sum up all those numbers, the largest majority of your city is middle income, white, stable, meaning not vacation homes. Only 3% of your residents are actually vacationers. In saying this, and the large majority of them have kids with under the age of 18. So in saying this, we think that kids are definitely going to be of high priority, which brings us to the website, which brings us to our stakeholders. We looked at the NGOs, the government, a couple different agencies within the government, children, and
The residents.
of course. So we wanted to figure out what other cities were doing that were so effective and how Peoria could emulate them. So that brings us to our website. So Peoria's website, one of the first things that you find is about a 12-page brochure listing the different green attributes of the city. The recycling page, while it's read and attempts to try to appease the younger audience and engage the audience, we believe it falls a little bit short, especially considering there are a couple of key features that are not listed here, such as the contaminants. We know that you guys have a large problem with contamination of different plastics and recyclables, such as dirty pizza boxes and green waste. We think that if you displayed that front and center, that you guys would definitely be able to lower that problem as well. Being a sustainability student myself, I have absolutely no clue which plastics fall under the plastics 1 through 7 category. And while on the next slide, further on the website, you can find a list of the acceptable and unacceptable items. It's in a grayscale. It's rather boring and dull, and we think, sorry, we think that compared to other leading recycling programs, that the website is definitely has room to improve, solely to embrace the demographic that you guys have within your city. So in the age of the internet, the importance of a simple search is clearly undeniable. If you look at Phoenix and Denver, what they're doing, if you go to cleanphoenix.org, a super rad diagram comes up of what is recyclable and not recyclable. It lists, and it has a very nice jingle to it as well, and it says it is, nope, and yep, and it lists all the different things, including green waste. And at the far right corner is Denver, and with a simple scroll of your cursor, you can go through the post-consumer life of each of these individual products. We think that it really engages the younger audience that we definitely need to captivate. Further, there's an example on the next slide of just the combination between pictures and words and different infographics that can definitely captivate our directed audience.
And this brings you to signage in homes and on the bins. And when we spoke originally, you said you have signage on the bins, but nothing in home. And ASU actually has a very comprehensive list that they put above every sign that has, or well, for the most part, or they have a sticker that they put on the bin so people know what goes in the bin when they're there. The problem that we spotted was that in homes, people will have recycling or they'll have their trash and then they'll bring it out. And if they look at the bin itself that has a sign on it, they may not take the time to sort it out. They may just dump it in there. So if you bring the sign in home, which is a solution we have, is maybe we would suggest getting a sign that is comprehensive with pictures, that has images, short sayings, and importantly lists contaminants. What cannot go in the bin? And we were thinking we would put together a packet that would have other useful recycling information, how it can benefit you tax-wise, and also this sign laminated so people can put it above their sign in home. And so I found this quote from the University of Oregon's their Campus Zero Waste program, and what they wanted to drive home was that it is important to have educational and promotional activities that complement, and that kind of goes into what?
The children of Peoria. Like we mentioned before, a large population of Peoria is the children, so we want to make sure that we can appeal to their interests as much as possible. So we thought on the 100th day, you guys have like a census to see like who's in the school, how many kids. So we thought you can integrate a recycling or like a green day on that 100-day celebration, because I have 2 younger siblings and they like to do fun activities. So if you incorporate the recycling with the fun activities, they'll be able to remember it and then bring it home to their parents.
And another way we could also use the signage is have kids bring home the sign, and that would reduce the amount of postage that you have to send out to homes. So you can get the demographics that do have kids and bring that sign home, just for them to show and to implement.
As Taylor, Kayla, and all the other groups reiterated, education is extremely important and to ensure environmentally healthy habits in the future. And kids just learn so much better and can take in so much more information when they're young. And an NGO Institute for Local Self-Resilience paired up with Montgomery County Elementary School in Maryland, and they set up a fundraising program and let these kids research that their lunch trays were made out of polystyrene, and which is like styrofoam, and it was being burned in an incinerator. And what they did was create this fundraising program and went house to door, and raised $11,000 in 1 year. And that the next year they did not have any polystyrene trays, and they paid for all the workers, the laborers, the new trays, and the dishwashing for that as well.
So now we're going to talk about yard carts. It's something that's kind of popular in cities across the nation, really. Because grass clippings and yard scraps do contaminate some of the recycling bins that y'all have. It's the same as a recycling bin or a garbage bin. It's just green, and yard clippings go in there: sticks, branches, leaves, mulch, whatever it may be. But they range from about 80 gallons to about 96 gallons, and depending on the city, like a $75 to a $90 fee, one-time fee for most cities. And this can be picked up once a week, or can be stored, since these grass clippings, yard clippings have a long life before they start to go rotten. It's done a really good job, and an example of that, even in Mesa last year with their green barrels and green carts, they did over 18,000 tons of recycled organic compost.
So with the results and findings, we ended up like figuring out that this problem is like quite complex because you can have many different solutions and there's like not one single solution you guys can pick. So you guys you can improve the website or you can send home the sign, but even if they have the sign, you're not guaranteed that the sign will get hung up. But the best what we can do is just give you these solutions.
And looking at key competencies of sustainability, we kind of listed 3. Normative would be looking at behaviors, values, goals of the city and its residents and incorporating those into the plan. Anticipatory would be looking at future trajectories such as population growth, education, and wealth distribution, and kind of going, if there's a specific area that is lower income, focusing on them and seeing if you can maybe change not just education, but help them with maybe more bins or more signage, because they may be the problem based on what we've seen demographically. And then systems thinking, implementing solutions into this complex system and realizing there are different solutions for different purposes or people. Am I doing immediate? Okay, sorry. So some of our immediate solutions and long-term solutions. So we want to improve the City of Peoria recycling website to make it more kid-friendly and interactive. Increase the signage and provide comprehensive signage intended for displaying in-home, not just on the bin outside. And additional, more legible signage on recycling and trash bins. So kind of like what ASU does is maybe putting a sticker on the bin itself.
So some long-term solutions would be change the color of the bin. Blue recycling, black trash. Make them very evident that
Because
this
the
goes in
Peoria
there.
bin is currently brown, and
Yeah.
the distinction people may just not associate. In the color, what ASU has done, again, is they've seen that there's 2 distinct, and people know it goes in the blue bin, maybe not the brown bin.
Also, name the trash can landfill. It's got a negative connotation and it makes people think, you know, I'm putting this in here and it's going to go to some place to rot forever. So, also, the number of bins the number of landfill bins for residents so they don't contaminate the recycling bins.
And because the city is expected to increase in population, the trash is probably going to increase too, so maybe increasing the amount of bins for trash so that people aren't putting contaminants into the recycling when there's no more room in the trash.
Green waste bins, as Hayden said, as yard carts and compost bins for branches, palm tree leaves, for landscape waste. And education, as I said, and another one would be bottle bills. They haven't been implemented in Arizona yet, but they're very successful at doubling recycling rates in other states. It provides a monetary incentive for the participant. They can bring back their bottles or cans to a retail store or a reverse vending machine and get 5 to 10 cents for that.
And this is just a brief overview of some of the challenges we still face. Due to lack of time, you can read it and we can go forward to references.
Real fast, you guys kept asking about incentives, and what was implemented just recently in St. Petersburg, Florida. They implemented this bill to have computer chips installed into their recycling bins. It sounds pretty expensive, but they said they monitor how often the resident uses the recycling bin. So if they're using it a lot, they'll send monetary incentives, you give them monetary revenues back. But they wanted to stay away from the negative connotation, but they said if it doesn't work, they're willing to go into the negative connotation of that and use that for taxes as well.
Any questions?
Thank you.